Dealing with hidradenitis suppurativa, HS, is tough. But you're not alone. Before I started Cosentyx, I looked at the website and saw it had many years of clinical research. That made me feel confident.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for adults with moderate to severe hidradenitis suppurativa, HS. Don't use if allergic to Cosentyx. Get checked for TB before starting. Increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like TB or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if IBD symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Don't wait. Ask your dermatologist about Cosentyx.
Welcome back to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, your one-stop shop when it comes to animation news and commentary. I am entertainment writer Jim Hill, and Mr. Taylor, whose writings in the industry you can regularly read over on the Wrap, and whose musings on the Mission Impossible movies you can still listen to on Light Diffuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. He and I are recording this week's show on Sunday, August 10th, which, just in case you're wondering, is the tail end of the dog days of summer, which officially began back on July 3rd. In fact, every year, July 3rd, and then stretches to, well, tomorrow, Monday, August 11th. And Drew, as a dog owner, and speaking of which, the lovely Nova, she's okay, yes?
She's okay. She's going into surgery in a couple of weeks, so we will see. But hopefully everything will be fine.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm so sorry
it'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
All right. Well, anyway, this particular turn of phrase, the dog day of summer, actually dates back thousands of years to the Roman Empire. It's that people supposedly associated the hottest and most humid days of summer with the rise and fall of the brightest star in the night sky, which was Sirius, a.k.a. the Dog Star, hence the dog days of summer. And further pointless trivia here, folks. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky because it's actually a binary star system made up of Sirius A and Sirius B, who turns out to be a dwarf star. Anyway, kind of appropriate that Drew and I will be are now talking about dog stars, because on today's edition of Fine Tuning, because later this week on Wednesday, August 13th, this is when Netflix subscribers are going to get to meet the stars of Genndy Tartakovsky's Fixed, the R-rated animated comedy about Bull and, his two good, close, personal friends, which Bull is very, very attached to in a literal sense. Old Spice and Napoleon. I got the name of the testicles right? Is that?
Yes, those are his balls. Yes, correct.
There we go. Okay, so later on in today's show, Drew will share a bit more about this adult animated comedy, which had kind of a convoluted route to Netflix. But first, the news, and as always, the news portion of this edition of Fine Tuning is brought to you by UnlockMagic.com, which is where you get real discounts on Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando tickets, sometimes upwards of 12% off. And just so you know, Unlock Magic is run by the exact same team behind DVC Rental Store and the DVC Resale Market. So just pick your dates, grab your tickets, and then you're on your way with more cash to spend on, well, maybe one of those cones that you make your dog wear after they've been neutered. And by the way, quick story here. We put one of those on our cat, Betty, after, well, she went to the vet and they took off one of her rear legs. And what was kind of interesting about that is that Betty, who spends a lot of her life begging for treats, realized that, well, now I don't actually have to follow them around the house, and claw at their ankles for food. I can sit in one place and be amplified, so she'll be like, no, hear this, I want treats. And, you next door, I want treats too, and we actually got complaints from neighbors. So we eventually got Betty out of her cone of shame. But all right. Anyway, moving on to this week's box office news, Weapons, horror film set in the modern suburbia. Were you surprised to see this at 42 million?
I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I love the movie. It's excellent. It's one of my favorites of this year. But
really, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I went and saw it I'd seen it earlier, but I went with a crowd on Thursday, and just hearing the reaction, I thought, okay, this might be something. It's one of those movies that the entire audience gets involved with, screaming, laughing, all of that stuff. So
okay,
the bigger number, I mean, it totally, eclipsed what they thought it was going to make this weekend. So
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. And I have to ask, what sort of noise does the audience make during that kind of final moment when?
Wait, we're not talking about. No, Jim. We are not flipping to the end of the novel this time. But
okay,
yes.
Okay, all right.
I love that you read about
what
everything
can I tell you? Yes,
on.
I went to movie spoiler. Okay, and I just the description's a little intense. It's like, wow.
Yes, absolutely. But you got to go see it. I'm gonna cheap night. It's coming up, Jim. AMC's doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so now you have twice as much time to go see it for half off. Yeah.
Speaking of films debuting in theaters this weekend, we had Freakier Friday, sequel to Disney's 2003 remake of our earliest Mouse House comedy, and that in turn was based on Freaky Friday, which the studio sent out into theaters in January of '77. By the way, I love this part about. The first Freaky Friday is directed by Gary Nelson. Did a lot of television prior to working on this Disney production. I mean, he did Gunsmoke, but he also did a lot of really gimmicky comedies like, Get Smart and Gilligan's Island and The Patty Duke Show, which again is infamous for the identical cousins, because that happens so often in life. Anyway, on the heels of the original Freaky Friday doing well-ish at the box office in '77, executive Disney are like, well, we're readying our response to Star Wars, big budget sci-fi film, and who should we get to direct this $20 million visual effects filled thing? And by the way, Drew, $20 million was the most that Disney Studios had ever spent on a production live. What that would cover craft services today on your typical Marvel, but
right.
Okay. So
yeah,
anyway.
I think Adam Sandler made $30 million for, or I think he made $50 million for the recent Happy Gilmore sequel.
Did he really? Yeah. Wow.
Think about that. Yes.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Disney executives, staring down the barrel of the $20 million response to Star Wars is like, that Gary Nelson guy, he did a good job with Freaky Friday. That only cost us $5. Let's put him in charge of our $20 million sci-fi movie. And that October of '78, he's on a soundstage directing The Black Hole, which to my way of thinking really explains how Slim Pickens wound up as the voice of a a rusty old droid. It's
God.
Yeah.
That explains the the decided lack of energy in that movie.
I mean, it looks great in individual moments, but it is just such a terrible movie. I mean, it just... All right. Anyway, speaking back to Freakier Friday, that sold 29 million worth of tickets opening weekend in North America. And not to be mean here, but that is better than Bad Guys 2 did domestically when that DreamWorks animation film opened in theaters. That was last weekend, 21 million over its opening weekend. Speaking of the Bad Guys 2, by the way, only animated film to make the top 10 in North America this past weekend. It has sold 43 million worth of tickets domestically, another 40 overseas, worldwide gross of 83.9. And I think you and I talked about this on the last show. I honestly thought Bad Guys 2 would have done better over its theatrical release. I mean, let's be honest here. Universal did a great job of nurturing this film franchise. We get the original Bad Guys, April of 2002. And in between the two films, we got the two holiday specials. The Very Bad Holiday, November of 2023, Haunted Heist last year in October. And, you go over to Rotten Tomatoes and the freshness rating and the audience approval, Drew, they're for the two films, they're almost identical. What is it? 87 and 95% for the original Bad Guys, and then 88 and 93% for Bad Guys 2. I think we talked about this on the last show, that the first one came out in the spring. Do you think that might be hindering things here? Or
I don't know. There's no real reason for it, because you and I have talked about how little there is in terms of family content, and especially animated content this summer. Elio didn't do much, but as you said, the Bad Guys has been around for a little while now. They've had the holiday specials. It's been on streaming. It's clearly a brand that DreamWorks is very interested in investing in. And yeah, those numbers are pretty disappointing. I think that they were hoping for a lot, because even with the kind of Puss in Boots 2 kind of long range approach where it makes more and more each week, it's not doing what it should, and it's not hanging in there like it should. But who knows? I mean, there's the other thing is that it's going to be streaming, I'm sure, very soon, or at least on PVOD. So
but what's interesting though is if you go back to this point in the run, 10 days in to the original Bad Guys 1, it had sold $44 million worth of tickets in North America at that point, whereas Bad Guys 2, 10 days into its North American run, it's sold 42. So, I mean, it's not that far off. It's still, it's still possible we could see a duplication of what happened with the first film, which, it did $250 million worldwide. But, I don't know.
There's really nothing for families for a while. So, I mean, I don't know. And maybe the Freakier Friday crowd ate into it, too. I don't know.
That could be as well. Oh, by the way, speaking of there not being a whole lot of animation this summer, I want to remind folks that Ne Zha 2, which arrives in an English dub version in North American theaters in just 10 days' time on Friday, August 22nd. And by the way, worldwide box office, so Ne Zha 2 currently sits at $2.2 billion, which is why, to absolutely no surprise, production of Ne Zha 3 has already been greenlit. Now, as for Bad Guys 3, director Pierre Perifel at the Hollywood premiere of Bad Guys 2 revealed that, there's definitely been conversations. We've been chatting amongst ourselves about potentially making a third one. Now, is it going to happen? That's a different question, because that is tied up in so much more than just us.
What does that mean? Good Lord.
Well, that's optimistic double talk. That's what in Hollywood Magic 8-Ball speak, it's check back later. And speaking of later, when we get back from this break, Drew and I will take a look at what's been going on the TV side of animation. But first, this
is an ad.
I hate it!
An ad for crisp, refreshing Angry Orchard hard cider.
That is refreshing.
An ad that interrupted your podcast.
I hate being interrupted!
To remind you to stop being angry at me and crack open an Angry Orchard.
That's a good idea.
Don't get angry! Get Orchard. Angry Orchard Cider Company, LLC. AngryOrchard.com. Please drink responsibly. Angry Orchard is a hard cider with other natural flavors.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you.
Ooh.
Find your next ride at Autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Getting ready to step into your career era? Set yourself apart with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Hone your skills with apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and more, powered with the latest in creative AI. Students save over 55% so you can build a portfolio you're proud of. Launch your future with Adobe Creative Cloud Pro for students. Visit adobe.com/students to learn more.
And we're back. Okay, we're going to talk about television animation side, though kind of interesting, the news coming, at least for Disney Junior, is we're seeing some films now wander over to Disney Junior, right? A big-time Pixar franchise, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're getting a Cars Lightning. What is it called? Cars Lightning
Racers, I want to say.
Lightning Racers, yes.
Okay.
And this is a Disney Junior show. But what's amazing is that almost the entire cast came back.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was kind of stunned by, the people who come back to the table to be part of this franchise again.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think you and I have talked previously about at least Cars 1 and Cars 2 became this absolute juggernaut for Disney consumer products. And so how long has it been now since, technically we did sort of get a Cars 4 in that set of sort of animated shorts that group together to tell a story of
Cars on the Road. Yeah.
Cars on the Road.
Yeah.
Going to Mater's sister's wedding.
Yes. But this is not going to be produced by Pixar. Those earlier Cars on the Road was actually made by Pixar. Mm-hmm. This is going to be made by Disney TV Animation for Disney Junior. So I imagine that there will be a pretty significant redesign. I mean, I kind of imagine them having a different stylized take on the characters, but who knows?
Got it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, though, I was reaching out to the studio recently trying to get some information about Snowball Protocol, the holiday special, and was kind of surprised to learn that's not being done by Disney Animation Studios. It's being done by Disney branded television. Did I hear that right? Or?
Oh, I don't know. I assumed it would be Disney. What used to be Disney Feature Animation, now Walt Disney Animation Studios, because that's where the other ones were. And you'd think that with the Canadian studio, they'd be able to facilitate that, but I guess not.
Yeah. I guess I was just surprised to, when I was reaching out to, to try to set something up for the show. And they're like, oh, well, you need to talk to Disney branded television, that we're not handling that. It's like, oh.
Yikes.
So, all right. But speaking of Disney Junior, I guess we should also mention that we're getting yet another Marvel show aimed at little kids, right?
Yes. Well, a team-up show of two different shows.
There we go.
Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which has been on for years, and then the new Iron Man show, which is, I think, on the way. It's coming out in a few weeks. Yeah.
Okay.
What is it called? What is this new one called?
Well, again, it's supposedly two crossover specials featuring these, Spidey and His Amazing Friends and Tony Stark and his somewhat even more amazing friend. So, I have to admit, I am fascinated by this, for lack of a better term, cradle to grave program at Marvel. The notion of, okay, we need to get the kids early interested in these characters so that they continue to come out for the films. And
well, based on the box office on Fantastic Four, it's more grave than cradle these days.
Oh, dear. Okay, but occasionally shows rise from the grave, which now brings us to the revival of King of the Hill, which debuted on Hulu just last week, Monday, August 4th. And interesting, they're actually now describing this as the 14th season of this long-running animated series. And but have you seen the stuff that's been bubbling up online about the absence of Peggy's niece Luann Platter, or her husband Lucky, Kleinschmidt, and their daughter Gracie?
No, I mean, I had read that they just sort of wrote them out without kind of acknowledging it because obviously there were some tragedies involved with some of the cast members. But I love you giving us her full name, Luann Platter, Jim, which, as any good Texan will know, is the signature dish from Luby's, a cafeteria chain in Texas that I adore. Yeah, so if you order the Luann Platter, Jim, I think you get one meat and two sides, and that'll do you right. Yeah,
I did not know. Oh,
yeah,
man,
yeah,
I backed into a fun bit of trivia there, but
yeah, there you go.
Okay, as Drew alluded to, I mean, look, Brittany Murphy, who originally voiced Luann, we lost her back in December of 2009, whereas Tom Petty, who voiced Lucky, he passed away in October of 2017. And people need to remember that King of the Hill originally went off the air after 13 seasons on Fox. September of 2009. So while the show was in production, they never actually had to address, either Ms. Murphy or Mr. Petty's passing. But then it opens up the question: you start up a show after a certain amount of time again, and so what's the right thing to do in a situation like this, Drew? How do you strike the right balance between fan service but at the same time, something that's story driven, something that actually has some emotional weight? Or, I mean, sometimes you just really do have to recast. I mean, case in point, Fred Flintstone. I mean, Alan Reed voiced the head of the household on the Flintstones for all 6 seasons of when this show ran on ABC, and that was September of 1960 through April of 66. And then Reed went on to voice this same caveman character in various Flintstones follow-up projects. There was the Pebbles and Bam Bam show, which CBS actually aired in prime time in 71. And then there was a thing called the Flintstones Comedy Hour, which debuted as part of CBS's Saturday morning lineup the following year, 72. But here's the thing. Reed, he actually started developing serious health problems right after the original Flintstone series went off the air. I mean, it began with him battling bladder cancer in 67, but he had surgery and they dealt with that. But, in fact, which is the brand of cigarettes that Fred and Barney, was it Camels that they pushed on the show?
I think it was it Winston or Camel?
I think you are correct. I think it was Winston. But anyway, Alan Reed himself was a lifelong heavy smoker. And so he develops emphysema in the early 70s, which then makes it harder and harder for this guy to voice somebody big and loud and boisterous like Fred. And Reed records dialogue for Fred one last time in 1976, and this is for a show called Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics, which debuts on ABC in September of 1977. Again, part of the network's Saturday morning lineup, but by the time the show airs, Reed's gone. He succumbed to a fatal heart attack June 14th of that same year, 77, some 2 years shy of his 70th birthday. And so Reed is gone, but Fred Flintstone has to live on. So Hanna-Barbera recast the role, hiring Henry Corden to now be the voice of the head of this modern Stone Age family. And now, mind you, the Flintstones were huge back in the day, but I, compared to what's going on today, Fred and Barney were no match for the numbers that Rumi, Mira, and Zoe have been racking up. And can you talk about what's going on with K-pop Demon Hunters now? Because it's blown through another milestone, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I also got to meet all 3 of the voice actors this week, which was really lovely. They're all adorable and very talented. Yeah, there'll be some content coming up, Jim. Don't you worry.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Holy
they came
cow.
by the office. It was very cool.
Right.
The whole entourage, But yeah, they officially entered the the top 10 Netflix original film list at number 4, Jim. So
okay.
These are charted in the first 95 days, so we still have a little ways to go. You know, I think it could get up much higher because they posted the weekly numbers again, and it was, I think, still 26.3 million views or something. So, I mean, they're very consistent. And the exciting thing, Jim, did you see that they're doing some sing-along screenings at the end of the month?
Yeah. Now, okay, just to be clear here, and Drew shared this info with me earlier this afternoon, so I did some research. So, okay, we know that it's a limited 2-day screening, right? And right now, it's only New York City, August 23rd and the 24th? Is that correct? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think it could get, I think if the response is what we think it is, there will be more screening. So I would just keep an eye out in your area. Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, speaking of keeping an eye out, tickets are not officially on sale yet, but people have been advised to keep an eye on Fandango, and when they're there, move, because this is going to go quick. But again, that sounds like a fun way to experience this film in a crowded theater full of people singing the songs that everybody knows now. Somehow I don't see us doing that with Fixed. It looks like a lot of fun, but all right. I tell you what, folks, when we get back from this break, Drew we'll share a few more stories about this Genndy Tartakovsky movie, and more to the point, talk about the crew gift that he also got gifted.
Yes.
Yeah. But first, this.
They say to only bring what you can carry. So with the all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor, bring a lot. Like 3 dirt bikes, a few tents, an entire crew ready to make memories. A panoramic 24-inch display, and the confidence to push your limits. The all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor.
Always consult the owner's manual before off-road driving. Know your terrain and trail difficulty and use appropriate safety gear. Max payload varies based on accessories and vehicle configuration. See label on door jamb for carrying capacity of a specific vehicle. Always properly secure cargo.
Grandpa's here!
Hank's always helping out. Grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
BTW, FYI. Visit Nexplanon.com RN to learn about Nexplanon. It's an gestural implant, 68 milligrams radiopaque. Or ask your HCP IRL. Okay, TTYL.
And we're back. Before we get to talking about Fixed again, and remember that's debuting on Netflix this week, I want to say the 13th. But we also have some news about another animated project coming from Netflix, The Twits. Is that right?
Yeah, The Twits got a release date, which is October 19th, I believe. Is that right?
Actually, according to this, it says the 17th. But
17th.
Sure.
Okay, October 17th. There we go.
Okay.
The point is, you'll be able to spend Halloween with your favorite Roald Dahl characters. And it's by, Phil Johnston, who worked on Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yeah.
I think this is something that should be on all animation films, radar. He co-wrote it with Meg LaFauve, who wrote,
A Brave,
Inside Out, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a big movie. So
that is so cool.
Yeah,
okay.
and then there were the announcement that David Byrne was doing the songs too this week. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, Netflix, October 17th.
Yep.
But before that, we, of course, get Fixed, which drops on the 13th. And we alluded to, before going to break, the crew gift, for those folks who hung in there, getting this Genndy Tartakovsky film done. So this is a very interesting piece of plush you have here, Drew.
Yes, it is. It's a plush of Bull, who is the main character, voiced by Adam Devine, who his balls are attached to the plush via Velcro. So you can have him before he is fixed, and you can have him after he is fixed with one quick flick of the wrist, Jim.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we've established on earlier episodes of this podcast that Fixed is a real R-rated, animated comedy for adults, and it's been a while since we've had something like this. I mean, people have been making comparisons to Fritz the Cat back in 69, 70, something like that.
It's also 2D, Jim, which is we should stress this is a hand animated movie as well. Yeah.
Okay. Now, but what else should people know about Fix going into this? I mean, it has a pretty amazing voice cast.
Yes, it has. I mean, the four main dogs are voiced by, as I said, Adam Devine and Idris Elba and Bobby Moynihan and Fred Armisen. So those are the four voices of the main dogs. But then Beck Bennett is in it, Catherine Hahn is in it, it's pretty great. I mean, if you love Genndy, this should be a no-brainer. It's just, it's been a passion project of his for so long, and we've heard him talk about it for years and years, and for it finally to come out now, because as you alluded to, Jim, it had a little bit of a troubled history.
It did. But I think the other thing and what's been interesting about reading the reviews for Fixed is folks who are surprised at, again, walk into it, okay, it's a raunchy comedy. They didn't expect to actually feel for these characters as we get into the last 20 or so minutes of this thing. But
yeah, there's real emotion. I mean, I keep describing it as Spike Lee's 25th Hour meets Lady and the Tramp, because it is sort of about, it's about a man confronting having his balls chopped off. And, that's a serious business. So he goes out on this kind of all-night odyssey because he thinks that the family doesn't love him, and that's why they're neutering him, and they don't realize that he doesn't realize that they still love him. His human family still loves him. So that's part of it. But yeah, there's real emotion. I mean, the characters are great. You really feel for them. And but yeah, it is one of the raunchier things you're probably ever likely to see. I wonder how the Hill Stadler house is going to endure Fixed after another Christmas in July marathon on Hallmark Channel.
Well, but that's the thing. I am old enough to remember when R-rated comedies were a thing. And in fact, just recently over at on the Epic Universal podcast, we're talking about that weird moment where Universal almost made Jaws 3 People Nothing. And the notion was that the team that had just done Animal House for Universal, the folks at National Lampoon, who'd made more money than God, they literally had the bungalow next to the team from Richard Zanuck and the other gentleman, David Brown, who did Jaws, and they were
David Brown, yeah,
and the notion was you can't do the same trick a third time. The Amity Island, there's another shark eating tourists. It's like, no, we need to do something different. And they were going to do this R-rated comedy. And ultimately what happened is the deal fell apart because Zanuck and Brown were like, look, we made so much money making a PG film. That we want all of the kids who saw the first two Jaws to come to this. And as an R-rated comedy, they won't be able to get into the theater to see this. And meanwhile, the National Lampoon guys were like, no, don't worry about that small audience segment. But they really wanted to make an R-rated raunchy comedy.
Didn't John Hughes write on that, or write that script?
Yeah,
and Joe Dante was scheduled to direct it?
That's the thing. It was the A-team from Lampoon working on this thing. And they created moments in it where Spielberg and Dreyfuss were going to make cameos, and Bo Derek was supposed to be the female lead, and they had deliberately gone after her because they wanted her to be topless for roughly half of the movie. But again, it ultimately fell apart because Zanuck and Brown were like, no, we need a PG. And that's the thing. I have to admit, there's a part of me that would have loved to actually have, if Warner Brothers had stuck it out. I would love to see what Fixed would have done if it had actually been released to theaters, whether audiences would have embraced it. I mean, to bring this thing full circle, to see the audience that turned out just this past weekend for Weapons. I think you were talking about this at the top of the show, Drew, that way beyond eclipsed the numbers they originally thought this thing was going to get.
Yeah.
So every so often an audience will turn out for something.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to the diversity of the Netflix slate, too, to have K-pop Demon Hunters, this all ages kind of thing, and then have Fixed. And both be original movies. Like I talked to Genndy at Annecy, and he said that Netflix initially passed and then came back to him and said, we want it. So I think it's a testament to them that they are willing to put that out and to put out this amazing variety of original animated features when everything else we're getting is Smurfs and, that kind of thing.
Not to upset the folks at Disney, but yeah, speaking of somewhat safe sequels, we just got news this past week that the Legacy cast for Zootopia 2 finished recording on that Jared Bush project.
Yes.
So,
yeah, Alan Tudyk and the whole gang. Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it's very interesting because, Jim, you and I remember the good old days of hand-drawn animation when audio was locked 2 years before animation began.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it's like, it's coming out in a few months. We're finished recording. It's like, oh, my God.
Well, toward that end, Nancy and I, in fact, were just talking in the car recently about Frozen 2. In fact, I love that series that they did for Disney Plus about Into the Unknown, because isn't it the last installment of that series that has Peter Del Vecchio? And I want to say they are 3 months out from release, and he's there at the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning getting ready for a big creative meeting with Bobby and Kirsten Lopez and Jennifer Lee. And doesn't he effectively start the meeting off with, we are 3 months out from release and we still don't know who Anna is singing to or hearing? I
don't know if they ever answered that.
Yeah. So
that's also the documentary where they go to the test screening and they get the cards back, and then Peter says to the camera, please turn those off. We will not be going into this part of the process.
There we go.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of sequels, on the other hand, to hear that Sony has a Spider-Punk movie in development, I'm kind of excited about, especially given what they did with the visuals of that character with Beyond the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah, I've heard that it's
across
in very, very, it's very, very early days of this, but it looks like Daniel Kaluuya will be back to star and co-write the screenplay, which is pretty cool. Certainly the Spider-Man stuff animated at Sony is much more dependable than their live action stuff. We have not heard a thing about Madam Web 2, Jim. The web keeps spinning. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We were talking a moment ago about Netflix and its animation program. We got news about a Dr. Seuss series they're doing. Actually,
Yes.
this is a couple of series, isn't
There's
it?
2 series and then there's a special. Yeah, the series they're all for preschool audiences, and it's One Fish, Two Fish is the, or Red Fish, Blue Fish is the series, and then there's a Horton series about the elephant, but he's like kind of a little kid now, and then there's the Sneetches special. So all of these will be coming out at Netflix, which is interesting because Warner Brothers Pictures Animation has Cat in the Hat coming out in February, and The Places You'll Go movie coming, starring our dear friend Josh Gad. So it's very interesting to see the web of new Dr. Seuss projects.
And I have to say, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Red Fish, Blue Fish, Horton, Sneetches thing, I mean, it looks cute. But on the other hand, when I looked at the trailer for Cat in the Hat and the stylization of that animation, and I'm not going to lie here, some of this is because of how bad the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat movie was. But the thing that's coming out in February of next year looks delightful and looks like it has a definite style, and it's like, that I want to see. Whereas these other things you just mentioned here, it's like, okay, that's for preschoolers and that's fine. I mean, it's no Luann Platter, but I mean, it's
No. But now you see why I think that the Cars show will have a different style.
There we go.
Because you saw what, like, all the preschool stuff has a very similar aesthetic, we will say.
It does.
Very toy focused. Yeah.
Though, interesting you bring that up. The other night, and again, I get to watch television for 20 minutes each day. When Nancy gets up to go to bed, I got 20 minutes and I can control the television. So I ended up over at Disney Junior and I was watching an episode of Mickey Mouse Funhouse because I really want to see how they bring Duffy, the Disney bear, into the show, supposedly organically. And I guess I didn't tune into I guess those are season 2 episodes. I was watching a season 1 episode. But the interesting thing is that in Mickey Mouse Funhouse, evidently they travel to other Disney films. And this one featured a scene where they went back to ancient Greece, and it's Mickey and the Fab Five dealing with the Muses from Hercules. And it's like,
what?
And it was,
really?
Yeah. And it was like, wait a minute, that's what they do on this show? But I will circle back on that. I'm determined to find out how Duffy is brought in organically, because face it, America's not buying enough plush at this point. We need to all buy multiple Disney bears with Christmas and Easter outfits. Anyway, on that cynical note, again, looking forward to Cat in the Hat, but on the other hand, as I look back, I want to remind folks, there are nearly 300 episodes of Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. A lot of great shows to choose from. Drew and his co-host, Charles Hood, regularly interviewed all sorts of Hollywood greats, and I learn something every time I listen to this podcast. Now, I don't know if I don't know if we can say the same thing about if you listen to some of the other shows we have here at Jim Hill Media. I mean, look, we got Disney Dish with Len Testa. We got the Epic Universal podcast I do with Eric Hersey. He produces a lot of the shows here. Likewise, in fact, I just recorded 2 brand new shows with I Want That Too, our Disney merch podcast with Eric's lovely bride, Lauren. And speaking of shows we at least host here at Jim Hill Media, there is Manufacturing the Magic, that's at our theme park history podcast. That's produced by Noah and Shelley Biodolid, and we got a brand new episode of that dropping this coming Saturday, August 16th. And then, speaking of August, early this month, a brand new episode of Disney Unpacked dropped. This is the one where Len Testa, veteran Imagineer, and Jim Schul and I discuss the history of Test Track, and we are working as we speak on a further episode of this series for Patreon. This one's going to be about the Main Street Opera House.
From testicles to Test Track, Jim.
There we go. Wow.
There we go.
Boy, you never thought the algorithm would deliver that, would you? Okay.
There we go. Before we go, Jim, I gotta hold you to this, that next week we will talk about the Michael Eisner Mickey animated segment from the 50th anniversary special that then played at Walt Disney's MGM Studios in Florida. We're going to talk about it.
I think it was the other way around, but yes, let's talk about that.
Oh, was it MGM first before the special?
I want to say yes, but let me do some investigating. Now, that said, though, more often than not, Mr. Taylor, one of the busiest men in show business, is moderating or hosting panels. So anything coming up rest of this month?
No, I actually said no to a moderating gig the other night. I was very proud of myself, Jim.
Wow.
I said,
okay.
Do I want to drive to CAA on a Friday night? The answer was no. So, yes. Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed on many levels.
Yeah, it's personal growth, Jim. It's personal growth. Yes.
There we go. There we go. All right. Anyway, folks, as we close out this week's episode of Fine Tooning, want to thank Eric Hersey and David Gray for the excellent job they do editing and producing this podcast. Also want to ask a favor of you folks, if you could please head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this show, as well as Light Diffuse. And also just want to talk a little bit about social media before we head out the door here. Drew, where can the nice folks find you?
Mostly on X and Instagram as Drew Tailored, like a tailored shirt. And Jim, where can people find you?
Okay, I am on X and Instagram as Jim Hill Media, and then over on Facebook as Jim Hill Media News. And that's going to do it for this week, folks. So on behalf of Mr. Taylor, thanks for listening to Fine Tuning, and we will be back soon.